Coming up on Mountain News this morning, lawmakers came to Harlan County announcing their plan to close what they call the Black Jewel loophole. And police in West Virginia say charges will likely not be filed against the father of one toddler who accidentally shot himself. Plus, Floyd County can now have some relief after longtime fugitive Jimmy Frazier was arrested.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6 o'clock on Friday, August the 16th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning. Yesterday was pretty and the humidity was down. Today's going to be another sunny day, but the temps are going to rise a little bit. And that humidity comes back with a vengeance. Let's bring in Brandon this morning, give us a breakdown of just what to expect. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, and yes, it's going to start to creep up in both ways today, the humidity and into the air temperature, but I think the air temperature will be our big concern today. This weekend, though, all bets are off. Let's take a look at current conditions this morning. US 119 up on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain. You see a few little clouds overnight. Those have cleared off. A big full moon out there across parts of the area, close to a full moon anyway. Looking at visibility issues down south once again this morning, less than a mile Williamsburg and Harlan, 2.5 miles there at London, and a little bit more than 1 mile at Monticello. So be careful of that. Temperatures in the 50s, upper 50s there in parts of Lake Cumberland and I-75, low to mid 60s across the rest of the area. Your planner for today, we climbed to 89 as we see sunny skies dominate the forecast on this Friday. I'll have the rest of the forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, we look forward to that. Thank you. Well, senators, state representatives, and Harlan County officials gathered in the Harlan County Fiscal Courtroom yesterday to announce a pre-filed bill that would close a loophole that left Black Jewel miners without their paychecks. WYMT's Hannah Reynolds talks to lawmakers about the pre-filed bill.
Black Jewel miners say what they and their families have had to endure, they would never wish on anybody.
It should be pushed more and more farther down the line, even higher power, to make sure it doesn't never happen again.
Lawmakers say it should have never happened in the first place, as the law requires new coal companies to post productive bonds of 4 weeks' wages to be able to pay the miners in the event of a shutdown.
That's if you're a business that has been in business less than 5 years. So Black Jewel had only incorporated in 2017. They were within that statute, less than 5 years in operation.
That loophole was made by relying on new coal companies to put up their own performance bonds. On Thursday, lawmakers said a pre-filed bill would stop operations for new coal companies that do not post productive bonds.
During the off-season time, there's nothing we can do, but in the new session coming up, we'll be able to pass a law that will close that loophole so this doesn't happen anymore.
Closing the loophole to prevent anything like this from happening again. In Harlan County, Hannah Reynolds, WYMT Mountain News.
The pre-filed bill would also recoup any of the lawyers' fees for the miners in the event that they had to sue for their paychecks. Later today, miners can meet with lawyers in Letcher County for an update on other legal action. Part of that discussion will be about their 401ks. Miners have access to those plans and need to decide if they want to roll them over to a new account or cash them out. And be aware, though, cashing them out means you will have to pay taxes and a penalty. The meeting is at 11 at the Letcher Circuit Courtroom. Nitro police officials say charges will probably not be filed against the father who left a loaded gun out within his 3-year-old son's reach. Nordau Police Chief Bobby Ingleton says the shooting that killed the young toddler was an accident. Monica Scott, a gun safety instructor, said the accident is devastating but could have been prevented by following weapons training. One quest for gasoline ends with 3 people in jail. That happened Wednesday morning in the Keavy community of Laurel County. As WYMT's Phil Pendleton tells us, the 3 were planning on stealing gas after their truck broke down. But what they ended up stealing actually ended up causing their arrest.
So it all started with them running out of gas, apparently.
7:30 Wednesday morning, and a homeowner on Rooks Branch Road in Keavy said an open garage door was seen as an opportunity for 3 thieves.
Right. We think that they broke down. We think their vehicle possibly broke down in the area, and they went into the barn looking for gas and thought they were getting gas and were getting peroxide, and it didn't get their vehicle started for them.
Police say the 3, Latasha Bryant, Dustin Napier, and Timothy Storms, were found nearby after they abandoned the car on private property.
Right, they committed a crime, and all they had to do probably was knock on his door and ask for some gas, and I'm sure he would have gave them some.
The property owner echoed that generosity as well, but now it's too late. All three are in jail. Police say the two women are also found under the influence of drugs, and now they are facing some drug-related charges. Storms and Napier were also arrested on some outstanding warrants. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Now, we asked all three if they would like to talk to us about the charges from jail, but they declined. Last night, a police chase came to a fiery end in Laurel County. Take a look at this. You are looking at Mickey Wayne Grubb in a stolen car on fire behind him. Deputies say this all happened when the 18-year-old blew through a stop sign, causing police to go after him. He nearly hit two people and one trooper during the chase. Grubb lost control of his car several miles down the road and crashed. It caught fire. Grubb got out of the car and started running. Law enforcement eventually caught up to him. He faces multiple charges, including theft. They say the car was stolen. He is in the Laurel County Correctional Center. On Wednesday, also in Laurel County, police arrested a man believed to be involved in a hit-and-run crash. This is Roger Vaughn. He faces assault and leaving the scene of an accident charges. On August 4th, they say Vaughn crashed into someone's car at the intersection of North Laurel and Glenview Road. Deputies say he then got out of the car and ran. Vaughn was also wanted on a bench warrant. There was a tractor-trailer involved crash on Highway 80 last night. Right now, we do not know if there are any injuries. This happened near the Hazard turnoff. Kentucky State Police, local fire departments, and other agencies were there. Both lanes were temporarily closed, but have since reopened. Last night, northbound lanes of I-75 in Rockcastle County transformed from a 3-lane interstate into a roadside emergency room. After a collision between a large truck and a Greyhound bus going from Atlanta to Cincinnati, 15 people were taken from the scene to local hospitals.
I just felt someone swerving, and next thing you know, it was like an impact, and like everybody just like flew forward, and then like was glass everywhere, and everybody was screaming and crying.
Officials have not released what the cause of the accident was or the extent of anyone's injuries. All lanes of I-75 are now open. The Grethel community can now have some relief as wanted criminal Jimmy Frazier was captured and taken into custody late Tuesday night. He was wanted for multiple charges, one of which he violated a grave. At the Branham Cemetery is where Frazier and another suspect were caught on Sean Keithley's Deer camera, stealing multiple items from his brother's gravesite. He says he is thankful he put the cameras up when he did.
Oh, it's a relief. I'm glad that they got him off the streets because, you know, this is not the only issue that he had with the authority. We needed to get him.
Sean Keithley says the community has been apprehensive about Frazier since his criminal history began back in the early 2000s. They are happy to know their community will be served justice. Now, a side note to that story is the result of a handful of messages that we got yesterday about an urgent message that was sent supposedly from the WYMT newsroom. WYMT will never send out urgent emergency messages like that. The only messages or alerts you will receive from WYMT will come in the form of push alerts that come from the WYMT mobile app or weather alerts that come from the WYMT weather app. Now, one Wolfe County man is accused of trying to steal a piece of heavy equipment. Police arrested Aaron White Wednesday. In July, police say he stole a skidder from a man. When the owner realized what happened, he followed tracks and found White stuck and on the equipment. Police say White then got off and ran away. He faces a charge of receiving stolen property. In June, we told you about the city of Hazard issuing notices to properties that were not up to code. Recently, the city has began to act and started closing down some properties. Connor James talked with city officials about the move.
Spray-painted plywood signals a crackdown on code violations.
In order to get businesses here, in order to get the people to move back here, we're going to have to do this.
Police and Fire Commissioner Tony Eversole says this property along Memorial Drive in Hazard is not the only closed down building.
You know, we've condemned one up in the backwoods. We've done this one now.
This comes after a notice was sent to 45 properties in early June. It told landowners, get up to code or show the city you have plans to do so. This building was one of those.
Even the state red tagged it. I mean, it's not safe for occupancy.
Multiple code violations, and Eversole says there were other problems.
Well, we received lots of drug complaints. Tons of arrests were made here.
Adding there's a daycare across the street.
Just a complete nuisance.
He says the city made plans to help anyone who lived there.
We kind of done a lot of pre-app work before we came. We'd contacted Red Cross. We contacted a local homeless shelter in another county.
And as for this building itself,
either the owner has to bring it back up to code or we're going to ask for an order to demolish it.
A similar future any of the now condemned buildings will face.
Again, that was Connor James reporting. There were a total of 45 properties to get the notices back in June. Officials say there are more properties in the city they have to address.
Clear skies across the area this morning, and some spots a little bit on the cool side. That won't last for long today, though. Stonecrest Golf Course in Prestonsburg, daylight just breaking there, but the moon lighting up the camera enough where we can see kind of what's going on over that way this morning, and it's a beautiful scene there. We go back to temperatures: 57 Monticello, 59 in Somerset and Williamsburg, 60s across the rest of the region, and dropping still. The warmest temperature we have right now is 65 in Pikeville and Ashland, at least in our area. Across the state, Louisville's at 70. 66 Paducah, 65 Bowling Green, 63 Cincinnati and the Tri-Cities, and in Charleston, West Virginia. Your forecast today, 89, dry, but mostly sunny and warmer. The humidity levels and the temperatures will continue to increase as we head into the weekend. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. And thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. People in Pike County are working to honor the memory of Gabby McCoy, who was killed in an accidental shooting earlier this summer. And we take a look at one island on the Kentucky state line that is a surprising combination of summer visitors.